How's everyone doing? It's so good to see everyone.
Doing well, loving the energy.
The film is excellent, and both of you did such an amazing job. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
I do have to say, I want to start with my question, Virginia, to you is, when I'm watching this, both of your characters, you're doing a lot of soul searching, figuring things out, self-reflection. And I find it interesting because I look at a lot of movies like this, like See You on Venus, differently now, because during the pandemic, we were doing self-reflection for like 3 years because we had the time to do so. So I look at a story like this, I look at your characters, I feel like it becomes instantly more relatable a little bit because of that. And I'm just curious, Virginia, if you thought about the self-reflection component of that with a film like this, given what we kind of were dealing with during the pandemic. That's interesting to me.
No, I think that's a really interesting point. And I can't say that that was actually something that I had consciously thought too much about, but I think that's a really beautiful takeaway that you've had from the film is it does sort of mirror the isolation that people did feel during that time. And I'm sort of hopeful that a story like this, where it's two people coming together and coming out of their shell and finding purpose again, is sort of mirroring what the world is going through right now, coming out of this pandemic, and things are coming back to normal and we're connecting again. So yeah, I think that's a really beautiful mirror to make.
Absolutely. And Alex, kind of to add to that a little bit, there is this really amazing journey component to the movie that I really love, where I'm invested in kind of the beginning to end of seeing kind of this journey. What was that like, seeing that on script and then seeing that kind of translate on screen specifically? I'm curious about that.
Oh man, that's you really. I gotta tell you, these two questions they're great. Usually we're answering the same questions over and over again, and both of these are phenomenal questions.
I appreciate that. Thank you, man.
I think for me the biggest thing is you read a script and you do your best to imagine what it looks like in Spain. I've been to Spain before for touring on Music and to hang out with a friend for a day. Never really got to actually explore and see the sights. And so I think the biggest difference for me was that I'm imagining they're like, we're looking out over Seville, and like it says, they look out and they like bask in the beauty or something like that in the script. And it wasn't until we're there and we're shooting, and I'm actually, I'm lost. I'm at a loss for words. It is one of the most beautiful things I'd ever seen. I remember we're doing this scene, and it's something as simple as Ginny's character laying her head on my shoulder, and we kind of just look and we just enjoying it, and we say two lines to each other. But it's funny how when you read that, you're kind of like, okay, cool. Yeah, I know what that's going to feel like. But then you're there and it almost feels like time stands still, and you have this moment to really express artistically what that feels like, so much so that whoever watches it gets to feel the same thing.
That's so well said. No, absolutely. Yeah, the movie is just stunning, and I can't wait for people to see it. And it's just incredible. And I love movies like that because I just love the chemistry between both of you, and I'm invested in that. And then in the other regards, it's like, oh my god, but this looks so pretty. You know what I mean? So it's kind of
a little bit of a sensory overload. It feels like when you're watching the movie, because you're like, holy, what's going on?
Yeah. And Alex, you're kind of used to that a little bit. I feel like because Finding Ohana was like the same thing too, right? Like I'm looking at this movie and
Absolutely. No, I mean, you're talking about adventures, right? The same thing I felt when I did that, not to talk about that film too much, but it was the same kind of a situation. This one just happens to be, we were filming in places that all existed, they were, luckily with Finding Ohana was an amazing experience because we filmed on these sets that made it look so real. And so it's very striking emotionally.
I'm just saying from the audience perspective, just kind of eye-candy the whole way. Yeah,
exactly. But then when we're doing it and we're also seeing it as like, holy cow, and then they get to watch us see it like that, and they go, holy cow, it just doubles down.
Virginia, fall was eye candy, but in a very terrifying, different way.
Yeah, exactly. Very different.
But getting back to See You on Venus, I want to ask both of you this. Virginia, I'll start with you, and then Alex, you can chime in with your answer. Whether you've been working on a set one time or 1,000 times, I feel like every project, there's going to be a learning experience and takeaway, regardless whether you new to it or been doing it for a while. I feel like you're always going to have learning experiences. So specifically on this film, Virginia, what were some learning experiences for you from an acting storyteller perspective that you took away?
It's a very good question. I mean, the the easy answer is I never knew how to drive stick before, and I had to learn how to drive stick for this movie a little bit. So I did actually get to take away that skill, sort of. I wouldn't say I'm great, but also I think for me there was a lot of learning about playing someone that has like this physical disability. They're afraid of dying. I mean, like, it was really interesting to dive into all of those concepts as well for me. And so I think what really inspired me about Mia was just like her positivity and not being a victim to her circumstance. And so that was something that for me personally, I really took away from playing Mia.
That's really well said. Alex, what about you, learning experiences takeaway wise?
Oh man, I would be boring and say the same exact thing that Ginny said, because it's completely true. I couldn't have said it better. But you give such great questions. I'm going to give you an extended answer on top of that. So I would say that building on top of what Ginny said, and having to commit so much to learning who somebody is, and both Ginny and I had to do it in our own ways. But when you give that much care to a specific person, and the writer has given so much care to writing this character, you start to know exactly what the writers imagined, and exactly what the imagined story was, and what that performance feels like. And so I think the biggest thing I learned on this set is sometimes and you have to know, and it's important and it's imperative as an actor to support and defend, or not even defend is a crazy word, but to always push to be that character and be that person and tell that story, especially because it's written as so, especially because there's so many people who are passionate about the project. Brian Pitt, who brought me onto the project, and I know was a group effort on that project, and it's an absolute passion of his. When you have stuff like that, you want to just give your all, and you want to make sure that you know that character, and you continue to be that character, both on set and also in the actual film.
You all knocked these questions out of the park. This was amazing. And honestly, I can't wait for people to see you on Venus, July 21st in theaters, because not only is it a great film, but it's a very important film. So I really hope they kind of check that out. Alex, Virginia, so great chatting with you both. Thank you so much, and all the best.
Dude, Peter, great to talk to you. Hopefully talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.